Hello everyone, Annie here, and I have the Always See Life's Beauty image that we're going to color today. We are going to make a cute little ocean background with her on the shore. So I already printed out my image, and then I also cut out a masking layer. If you don't have a masking layer, that's fine too. Just when you're doing your background, you just don't want to go into her colored spots. And we're going to start with our background first. So I'm just putting down my masked piece here. And then someone's trying to call me, even though I told everyone not to call me today. I'm just going to take a light pencil so I can kind of see it is. I'm going to do it as an A2 card, but I'm going to go over the edges and then I'm going to cut her out at the end. So I want her to be on the sand, and I also want it to be, because I have my sentiment here, I don't want this in a dark color. I want it kind of in a lighty color. So we're going to it's not a straight line, it's kind of wobbly. That's going to be her on the sand. We're going to have some of the ocean going there. And then I'm also going to put a horizon behind her. And this is going to be a little bit more of a straight line, because it is the sky, the ocean, and then the sand. Okay? So we are going to start with our sky, which is going to be our lighter blues. So I'm just going to grab my light blue colors because I want it to be a nice and sunny day. So we have, let's see what we got here. I have my B quadruple, my B triple, my B W, my B double, 0W, oh my goodness, and then my B1. So I'm going to have it where it's going to be lighter going into the darker where it goes into the horizons, or you can do it where it's lighter going into the sky. But I'm going to be using such different colors, blues, when I get to the horizon and the ocean, that it shouldn't make a difference that I'm doing my darks on the bottom. So I'm taking my B01 and I am just going to go and make my first line and just kind of fan it out. I'm just making sure I get around my sticker of my girl. Then I'm going to go into B0, and I'm actually going to use my broad tips here just so I can get a good blending of the two colors together as I continue to go up. And I just want this variation of the blues in my sky. Okay, and then I'm going to continue that with my B triple 0. And I'm just going lighter and lighter into my sky area. And these markers are not so juicy, so I have to work them a little bit more. Let's just get this part around that sticker so I know that it's okay. And there you can see it's a little bit more juicy on this side than the other, than my broad tip, but we're just going to work it both. It's going to look a little splotchy because we are going to come back with a second layer. But again, I just want to make sure I'm getting those edges where I want them to be. Ideally, you can do this also with ink blending if you didn't want to do it with markers. That is also okay. And I am going to add a little bit of like purpley color in this in a moment, just to get that pretty summer sky. So I'm going to just quickly go over all of this one more time with that B01 was my bottom color. Let's start that with here. And here again, trying to make it a straighter line for that horizon. I brought it up a little bit more since my markers are a little bit drier than I expected. Then my B00. I'm just making sure it's even across. Then my B triple 0, which is this one here. And I'm going to have to use a little bit with my other nibs. This one, like I said, is not so juicy. And then that B, the last one, my B quad, going into the top. Okay, and then I'm going to take a really, really soft purple. So I'm going to take BV, maybe BV20, let's see. Yeah, let's take BV20, and I'm just going to flick some of that into the side of my sky just to give it a little more dimension and a little added interest. So there's a little bit of that variation going in to my sky colors. Just doing them at different lengths going in there. Whoops. Again, don't worry about the edge of your paper because most of that's gonna be cut off because I did not cut her into my A2 size just yet. And then I can go back in with my B00, and I'm just going to soften some of that out. So I'm getting a nice little variation in my sky here. Like so. And it's going to look like a hot mess until everything is revealed at the end. So now we want to start with our ocean. And our ocean is going to start very dark and get lighter and then fade into practically, the light blue and then the white spray of the ocean as well. So we're going to start with a very dark blue. And I'm going to start, let's see, this is 39, 37. I'm just grabbing some of my 30s because this is where it's going to change some of the colors here. That's a 60, 32. So let's see, 39, 37. And then we're going to start getting into, and these are going to be small areas that we're going to be coloring with these colors. So I'm going to start with my B39, and it's literally just going to be a very thin line on my horizon. And then I'm going to go in with my B37, And I'm going to start bringing that out just a little bit and blend it. And then we're going to go in with our B34. And blend that as well. We're going to use quite a few blues in this area. So here is our ocean starting to take shape, just kind of. It doesn't need to be a straight line unless you're having a calm ocean, which we're doing a little bit of a calm ocean today. And then our B32, and I'm just going to go over all my past colors here. Just trying to keep it a little bit even. And then even with this, I'm going to use my broad tip to work those colors together a little bit better. And this is what's great with your broad tips. It just helps with these bigger patches of color that you might need to do. Okay, and now we're going to start going into some of more of the turquoisey colors of the ocean. So let me just see what we got here, what I want to use when that one needs to get refilled. PG 57, let's see what 49. And maybe 8. Let's see. Okay, so we're going to start with our BG 49. And I'm going to start making subtle shifting in the water as well, because I don't want it to be, because this is when your tide is going to start coming in and start forming. So we're just going to have a little bit of some waves coming in there. And then we're going to go into BG 57 just to start softening it. And again, we just want to start getting some of this. And this is BG 45 now. So now you can see where we're getting more of the turquoisey colors coming in through the bottom. Okay, and I'm also going to use the broad end of this BG 45 because I also need to blend that into that blue that was there. So I'm just going to go over it all, mixing these colors together. That way I just don't have this big harsh line of the color. Okay, and now we're going to go with some even lighter turquoises because we're getting closer to our shore. Let me just grab some here. Let's see, what's this one? I just play with the colors. That's all you need to do is just play with the colors of the markers that you have. This one's too green. We want more of the turquoisey blue coming through. Okay, so we are going to go in with, let's see, BG 53, 15, 2. Okay, so we're going to go in with our BGO 2, which is going to take us back into some of the lighter blues, the more blue than green coloring. And again, just go over to soften those lines you have. we're getting close to that penciled line that I made as well. And that is when your Posca pens or your gel pen is going to come in handy. And then BG53 is my final color, which is just going to end where my sand is going to be. And again, just go over everything. So you have this nice gradient of dark blues going into greens and then going into turquoisey blues. Just like the ocean. It's not all one color. It's got the variations in there. And then I'm just going to hit it up again with my broad tip just to pretty much even everything out. And the same on the other side. Okay, and there is our ocean and our sky. Now we're going to get into our stand. And for the sand, we're going to use our E30 series. So going to grab some 35, a 34, a 31. We should have a 33 around here somewhere. Okay, I don't know where my 33 is, but let's just see how these are going to look. We're going to have some E35, some E34, some E31, and then we're probably going to go into even some lighter, so maybe a 51. Oh, maybe let's try 43. Let's see what that's going to bring us. Oh, actually, that one, maybe not so. And okay, this one we can use in shadings. Okay, so we're going to start with our E43, and that is where I am going to put the start of my sand. Okay, and I'm also going to flick from the sides in, because sand is not going to be even and textured either. And then I'm also going to put a little bit underneath where her feet are, like so. And then we're going to go in with our E34. Just add in some more color here. And don't forget the tops. I want to make sure it's not going into her where I had it bleed out onto her feet. And then our E31 is going to come out from both sides. And in between her legs there. And then our E51, which is our light color, I'm just going to go over a lot, all of it. It's going to soften everything up. Take all that hardness away from those other colors and blend it in like so. Okay, and then we're going to add the details of all like the foam coming in from the sea and everything. We'll add that at the end along with more texture into our sand. I don't think I used that color. All right, and now we can go ahead and lift up on our girl. Oh, I got some bleed in there. Well, that's no good, but it's okay. I'm just going to make sure then that I give her brown hair. It's probably because I just got it too wet from my mask, but that happens sometimes. Okay, I'm just going to put these markers away, and we're going to start with her skin. So I'm going to go grab my skin tones, which is our E04, our E11, E21, E00, E000, and E quad 0, and then our R20 for her cheeks. It's our standard skin tones that we always seem to use. Oh, I hope I was in focus for this whole thing, or I'm going to be really upset. Let me check really quick. Okay, so let's start coloring our girl. So we are going to start with our E04, which is our darkest color. I always do my body first, and then I go back and do my face. So I am going to have her shadows on the outside of her body. So I'm just going, and that's also because that's where I got bleed. So on the outside, and then on the under part of her skirt, I have to get a good chunk of this hand, and we're going to go up here and here for her shadows on her body. Then we're going to go in with our E11, and wrong end, E11, and I'm just going to go over what I just placed down with that E04, and we're just going to extend it out a little bit further, getting in those cute little toes, and then up on her arm, and then the side of this arm. And then we're going to go in with our E21. E21 is next. And we're going to continue. And we're just closing in the gap of her legs. So it's going to go dark to light from the outside in on both of her. And then on her arms here. Then our E00. It's just all repetitiveness. Just closing those gaps. And then finally we got E triple, and E quad. So here's our E triple. And it's just going to give that nice little highlight of shine on her legs and on her shoulder here. And this is our E quad. So there's my skin, and I'm going to do her a second coat because I always like to do second coats on skin and hair sometimes depending on the color. But I definitely need it on this one since I did get blue in her arm, and this will help camouflage that a little bit more as well. So I'm just putting that E04 down in the same spots I already had it. Makes it really easy doing that second layer because you already know where your colors were. And then we're going in with that E11. And it just absorbs better in the paper when you do that second layer. And it also makes the marker color a little bit more vibrant on that second time as well. Now in with our E21. Again, just repeating and filling in our areas. Next is our E00. And if you make little mistakes in your coloring, Those are not the focal point, so I'm not really too concerned with her hand having that little bit of blue showing through, because when her hair is done in her dress, no one's even going to be paying attention to a little thing like a hand. So always keep that in mind when you're doing coloring, and you might have little mistakes here and there. If it's not the focal point, people's eyes are not going to read it, so you don't really have to fret and stress about those things happening. All right, so there is our skin. I like it. She's got a nice little suntan going for the summer. And now we're going to start with our face. So we're going to go back to that EO4. I'm going to turn her around because I'm going to go from the side of her face, just underneath where her eye ends, around the underside of her hairline, and then down the other side here, just kind of making it even. That was EO4. Now we're going to go in with E11, and I'm going to do the same thing. I am just going to go over and extend that line, and by going over it, you should see it softening. And that's how you know you're blending nicely as well, that you don't have that harsh line anymore. Next is our E21. So again, going over and around. And then I'm going to do one more extra thing with this color, which is starting the eye socket of our little girl. Like so, just following the curve that's already there, and just bringing it down and extending it a little bit. Then I'm going to take my E00 and I'm going to bridge the bottom part of her face. And then I'm also going to connect from the side of her face and go around that eye. And same thing on the other side. So I'm still keeping that white area around her eye. And then I can flick this down a bit. I'm just going to do that until I get a nice smooth little layer. And then I can go in with my E000 and I can fan out on her face here. And I'm going to go just above her nose. And then I'm going to be able to fan down on her forehead a little bit more. And I'm also going to go on the inside of this eye a little bit too. And then with our E000, just go ahead and fill in and blend out that skin, like so. So she's got nice darker areas underneath her hairline, and then sun is hitting right in the center of her face. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this one more time as well. So I'm starting back again with my EO4 on the side of her face, all the way around, across the side here, and down. And then with our E11, repeating and extending. And again, it's just going to give a better blend, make your colors a little bit more vibrant. And now that your paper is saturated, your blends should be a little bit smoother than just having that one layer down. And then we're going to go in with our E21. Just repeating and the extending, and then also the circle-y part around the eye. Our E00 is going to bridge underneath her face, under the chin, and form the bottom part of her eye socket. Make sure you go over that E21 though with your E00 just to soften it a little bit. And then our E triple is going to go above and right above her nose. And then the flicking begins going down, softening that up. And then finally your E quad, finishing up the face and smoothing out the layers. And now she just needs a little bit of color on those cheeks because she is out in the sun. So we're going to take our R20. I like to go from the bottom of the eyelash, and I like to follow the curve of that eye all the way around to the front of her face. And then I'm going to repeat it on the other side, like so. And then I'm going to take that E quad 0 again, and I'm just going to hit the edges of the pink and soften those up and blend it out. Okay. And there is our little girl skin and her face. Okay. Now I just want to do her tongue, and for her tongue I'm just going to grab R89 for my dark color and R35 for my light. You can use any reds or pinks that you have on hand, but for my R35 I'm just going to color in her tongue. And then with my R89 I'm just going to hit the bottom of the tongue to add a little shadow, and then just go over that line with my R35. And there we have our pretty little girl. Okay, so now I have to figure out her hair, and I need it to be a little bit, I can't really do a blonde because it won't cover up my mistakes with my blue. So I could either make her a brunette, I could do her with black hair, I could even do her as a dark redhead. But I think I'm going to keep her as maybe a brunette with maybe a little bit of highlights of blonde in there, like summery highlights. I was going to do, because yellow and green are my favorite colors, I was going to do her dress in yellow. I might have, maybe we'll do it as a tie-dye since we already got some stuff going in there. But we will figure that out as we go. So I'm just going to pause the video, do some swatches of some browns so I can see what color hair I want to do, and I will be right back. Okay, so I am back. I just did a little bit of some swatches of some browns to see what I think are going to work, and I don't know how they're going to work as a whole. In smaller sections, it looks like it's going to be great, but we're going to be using E49, E79, E99, and then YR24, and hopefully we get a little bit of a summer colored girl here. We're going to do her hair in sections because, like I said, I just kind of pulled these colors. It's not a combo I normally use, so I don't want to do the whole section. I want to do it in sections so I can see how it's going to get formed as we go along. So I'm going to start with this strip of her hair over here. So with my E49, I am just going to come down and do her roots. This overlaps here, and then we're going to come up from this strand of hair here. And this is exactly how I just play. I just pull colors, and I hope that they'll work. And if they're going to blend well, I like to use my own color combinations and change things up. So I never really have hair colors written down much. We used to in the past. But now I just kind of like to play when I color. So I did the root of her hair, then this strip is on top. So I have this piece coming out from the bottom, and this is coming from the bottom as well. So that is the first section of her hair that we are going to do and attempt and hopefully like the color that ends up coming out. So now we're going to go in with our E79. I'm just going to extend the color out further and start to bridge the pieces together. Okay, and this piece is obviously longer, so I have my strands a little bit longer than I have on my sides. Then we have our E99. This is going to start adding some more of that goldy color for her brown hair. And then we can self-adjust if this level here, this layer is too big of a gap of the color. I will just self-address on my second go round. And then YR24 is going to put in that honey color in there. So she's definitely got some shine, but it's not the smoothest transition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back with my second color, that E79, and I'm just going to make a little bit of some longer and more straggle type of streaks in the hair. So it's not this big gap of that golden color, because you're not going to have a highlight like that. But this is definitely more realistic with a little bit of it shining through. And that's all you have to do is just self-adjust your strokes as you go through. And I actually like that. I think it looks pretty. Alright, so we're going to continue now with some more of her hair. So back, with that darkest color, which is our E49. We're going to do roots at the top here. And then this piece is under here. So that's got to go that way. And then we have this curl coming off this side. And then we have this coming off the edge. And we have some of this hair coming out from underneath. So just follow what the lines are showing you of what is underneath which piece of hair. And just kind of follow that flow of where the things are going and the direction that the lines are drawn, and you'll be fine. And see, this worked out great because it's covering up my blue here, and that's what I really needed and wanted to happen. At least on mine, because I made that boo-boo doing her ocean. Okay, and we need to come up. These ones go this way and meet up like so. And then this, just following what's already drawn in there, makes it very easier for you to follow the lines that you have to do for your strokes. And this part underneath, behind her arm, I'm just going to solid color it. And there are little pieces here on the underside of the hair too. That can just get, they're not going to have highlights sitting in there, so you can just solid color those. You could go and do those at the end. Okay, and now I need to go from the sides of her face here. So I'm just going to first kind of outline her face so I don't get into her skin when I do my pull-aways with my flicks. And then I can go ahead and flick these down. And then off the side as well. Just fill in those gaps. Okay. And this piece looks like it needs some dark as well. Alright, so let's see. I'm sure we're going to have to self-adjust on this as well, and we'll do that as we go along. Okay, so now we're going to go in with that E79 and start extending the colors down. And again, don't worry if you have that big gap like I had in that first piece. You just adjust it on your second round. So it's not the end of the world. And I actually love self-adjusting on my second layers because I can see everything a lot more clearly, and it just goes more smoothly for me figuring out the colors when I do it on that second layer. And you always have to adjust regardless because one area may be bigger than another, just like we have to color differently on her face than her legs because her legs and her arms are a much smaller area of knowing how far out you need to go. And so you just have to be consciously aware of that, and then you'll be fine. Okay, so next is our E99. So again, just going to start getting in some highlights with the color here. Kind of looks like a Bengal cat to me, these colors right now. And I think it's a pretty hair combination once we get it all adjusted for what we need it to be. Okay. And then we're going to go in with that YR24, and you're just going to kind of close up all that white space. Again, that's the dark area piece, so I'm going to grab that later when I go back. Okay. And I still think there's some areas that need adjusting, and that's fine. First, I'm going to grab that dark marker and fill in these dark places that are behind her hair so they don't throw me off when I am doing those adjustments. Okay. And now I can go back with that E79. And this is when those straggly longer ones just kind of come into play. Really light and loose flowing flick marks going into your lighter color from the tops and the bottoms. Just so that these goldeny colors are more like peeking through the hair than sitting on top of the hair. Gorgeous. And then back with that YR24, going it over And that's just going to soften all those little straggle pieces. Really beautiful. I love her hair. Love it. It's a pretty, pretty summer shape. All right, so now we have to do our flip side. So we are going to start over here on this band piece of her hair. Oh wait, yeah, E49, here we go. And I'm doing in the root area, flicking down. Again, following the lines that are there. Then we're going to come around on this shell that's in her ear. Okay. Then we're going to go in with our E79 and extending it. And I always flip my paper around. Just always remember your hand usually is always going to be in the same position when you're coloring. You don't want to try and contort your hand to where you want your colors to go. It's easier just to turn your paper so that your hand is in the most comfortable position of how you hold your marker. And then here is my YR24. That's a beautiful part of her hair. Okay, now we just need to do her underside and then this part here. The underside is mostly going to be the dark with a little bit of lighter in there, but we'll do that piece last. So here we go with our E49 again, getting in those root areas, and now it's getting a little sticky. Need a new tip. And then we're also going to come up from the bottoms here. And I'm just curving it the way those lines are. And then my E79. Just extending them a little bit further. And also from the top. E99. And then our YR24. And then I'm just going to fix a little bit with that E79. Get those straggly ones going. So it's just a little bit showing through. Okay. Now my E49 is starting to act up. I don't know if you guys have ever gotten when your marker starts getting really, really sticky and shiny. And that's what is happening with mine at this time. So I'm just going to use this a little bit less sparingly. And I'm just going to put down a little bit of foundation of the dark color there. That way I can be done with that. And now my E79 going down a little bit there. E99. I'm not even going to put my YR in here at all because it's such a small area. And then just with my E79 add those little flicks again. And there is our summertime hair beauty. Love it. Okay. Still haven't figured out what I'm doing with her dress yet, but let's start with the seashell. Now, seashells come in different colors. Most of the time, you know, you find your natural ones that are the beiges and that sort of thing. But I want to make ours a little bit prettier, so I kind of want to do like a pinky purple, like, you know, just a tint with the beigey color. So I'm going to use the colors that we actually used on our sand for the base of my shell. And like how we put the purple in with the blue, I'm going to do that also with my shell. So we're going to start with our E34. And this is the underside of my shell, so that's going to be kind of the darker color. And then we're just going to go around where these little, I don't know what you want to call it, the little bumps in the shell are. Let's go down further here, actually, like that. And then we're going to go in with our E31. Just kind of soften that out a bit. And then I'm going to go in, I think, with the E51 and blend that out. Then I'm going to go back with, we had BV20 out earlier when we did our sky. And I'm just going to add some of that on the shell. And then I'm also going to grab, let's see, this might be too dark. Yeah, that's going to be too dark. Let's try RV13. Nope, that's too dark too. RV11 we're going to put in here as well. So we got some pink and some purple. And then back with my E51 is what I'm going to blend it all out with and just soften the lines. So I just have a little bit of a color in here. I'm going to actually put back some of the E34 because this is a little too purpley right there, just to blend that out. I just want it to be a hint of color so you're not just reading this bland shell. It's got a little bit of color to it as well. Okay, there is our shell. Now we have to figure out a dress, and I need something that's going to cover. I do not like Copic purples. They just don't give me enough range. I really don't want to do her in a red dress either, but I really wanted her in yellow. Let's see what we can do. I don't think my greens are going to cover that up either. I mean, if we did red, we could make it a nice little polka dotty red. Let's do red. Okay, let's do red. Red is not my favorite color to work with. They're the hardest colors to fix when you make errors. But if done nicely, you can really get some nice colors of red in here. And I want it to be red if I'm going to do her dress. I don't want it to be like, I want it to be like a dark, rich red. So I'm just going to play with some colors over here really quick. This one's good. And this is all I do. I just swatch out my colors to see which I think are going to blend together. This one's going to need a refill. That one's nice and juicy too. All right, so let's see if I go with, and this is just how you play. Kind of start with that, and then R29 maybe is going to blend out with that. Yep, that blends really nicely. That's actually too similar, so we don't need this one. Let's do R35. That's going to blend that nice. And you just kind of there we go. All right, so we are going to be using our 89, 29, 35, and 17. So we're going to start with our R89. Put in those darkest colors, which obviously I really need, especially in these sections over here. So I am going to kind of make an L shape, and then I'm going to come down a little bit smaller here, and then I'm just going to follow the shape of her dress, and a little bit here, but not much, because then I need it to be down there. And on her bodice. we'll see how this goes. So next is going to be our R29. We're just going to blend and extend, blend and extend. That's all we have to do. And adding some details like polka dots at the end also will trick the recipient or whoever's looking at your card later, that they also will not see all the little mistakes that you made. So there's a lot of tricks that you can do to tease the eye. Even though my blue is not even coming really through these reds because they're such a nice dark red. So that works out really nice. Next is our R35. Again, blend and extend, blend and extend. And that's all we're doing. And just closing little gaps here and there. And again, like I said, we can always adjust the shading on that second round when we go. And now with my R17, just gonna fill in with my lightest color, blend it. So, all right, so I did not do a great job here, so I'm going to self-correct. I want it to have more depth to it. I like this back one here, so I'm actually going to leave that one. But this one needs to have a little bit more depth to it. And then this back one is dark as well. And curving her dress a little bit. So I'm just bringing this the centerpiece was too much of the lighter colors. So I'm just fixing that part out because I didn't like it how it looked. And I just want it to be more of the darker reds than the lighter reds. But again, we are going to put some polka dots on here so it won't be the end of the world. And then our RV35. Just keep working your marker to get the blend that you need. And then R17 again. See how it's just makes it a little bit more of a darker red dress than what it was when we first started. Okay, so when we come back, we're going to do all our final details. We're going to add some polka dots to her dress. We're going to add some details to the shell. And then we're going to add our water and our foam of the waves coming in. So you're either going to need a white Posca pen or a really good white gel pen. Okay, so we are back and we're going to do the final details of our cute little sea life girl here. So for the next part of the phase, it depends on what you have on hand. If you have a gel pen, a Posca pen, or even just a white paint pen, any of these are going to work. Obviously, depending on which one you use is going to warrant how white it is and also how thick your your line's going to be. So that you want to also take into consideration. So I am going to be using either my Posca pen or my paint pen. I'm not exactly sure yet. So here's my red that I did before. And this is my Posca pen. So I could do my polka dots nice there. And then here is a paint pen. Oop, that's got a little bit of a blob now. And the paint pen is actually, I like it better. So I'm probably going to use the paint pen. Let me just wipe this up with the scrap real quick. Okay. All right, so with my paint pen, the first thing I'm going to do is we are going to create some of the ripples and the curves down here at the waterline. And it's literally, you're just going to be putting a series of dots and waves just to kind of simulate where the foam is going to be coming in from the water on your waves, and you're just going to be repetitively putting them in all over. And you're also going to make sure that you get some that come into the sand as well, because we all know that the froth of our foam, and you want them not into a straight line. You kind of want it to stagger. I probably should have used the Posca pen, because now that I'm doing it with the paint pen, the paint is actually a little bit too watery here. Too late to kind of switch that now. But anyway, so we're going to just do that. And you can kind of see it's making the froth of the wave coming through. And then we're going to do some on the other side as well. But I'm going to skip over where my writing of my sentiment is. And I'm just putting down dots. That's literally all this is dots, 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 dots. And again, it's just to simulate the wave that's crushing down on the sand by my girl. And I'm going to bring, like I said, some of it in, and maybe I'll even go in with my Posca pen to get finer dots as it's like trickling away and coming towards and going away. So let's see how that's going to work, because it is a finer, it gives me some finer dots, so I'm going to have some nice variation with my dots. The Posca pen is not as, it's a little bit more transparent than the paint pen, but I think that's going to be okay. It's just adding like the little bit of spray that would be coming off of my wave here. And again, like I said, if you had a gel pen, same thing. Gel pens are tricky, I find, sometimes, depending on the brand, because they get oily as you use them, and then they don't come out as well anymore, the ink. So the Signo Uniball pen is a really good one. I like the Jelly Roll as well, but it depends on the batch sometimes. I've had really good Jelly Rolls, and I've had some not good Jelly Rolls, same brand. I think it just happens to deal with the, like I said, the batch that it might have come in. And I'm just going to grab a gel pen to show you. No, this is not the good one. If you wanted to actually get some more in here. So you could use different mediums with different things on here. And again, and the paint pen I like because it actually also gives it the texture, so it makes it look a little bit more 3D. And then this is just giving that little bit of spray on top of it. And you just want to make sure it's nice and condensed in there at the clusters, and they are kind of all clustered together. And then what you're going to also do is you're going to add just a little bit of like some ripples in the water. Just like little straggled lines, not even all connected. Because this would be, waves that might be forming in the back and starting to come up into the shore. So just a little bit here and there, nothing crazy. Okay, put this away. And then we want to add some texture to our seashell, which you can do. I love Statler's Triplus pens. I use these a lot. They are a fine liner. They are very, very fine. I mean, I have a pack of like 48 of them, so I have them in all different kinds of colors, just so that when I want to add visual interest to things. So here's a brown one that I can add into my seashell here. It's just going to add a little bit of interest. And we have this burnt orangey color, which is just another brown. You can also do this with your Copic markers, but your dots are going to be a little bit bigger than they are here. And then because we added a little bit of purple, I'm going to put a little lavenders in there as well, but nothing too crazy. So there's that. And then I'm probably going to add some into my sand. So I have a few different shades of brown here. So I want to see which one I'm going to use in them. So this is a nice lighter brown. This is like a gray. That's too dark, I think, so we won't be using that one. That one actually is pretty similar to that. This one's too dark as well. But just play with colors that you have. Obviously, you don't even have to do this part. Like I said, I just like to add it for some more visual interests in my cards when I'm doing them. So I am just going to add, and they're not a ton that you're going to put in. You're just going to kind of straggle them around. You want them usually heavy in the corner and then more sporadically and looser going towards the center of your card. And then I'm just going to add a second color. And then my lightest color. And it's just going to add a little bit more texture to your card. And then sometimes I even go back over with markers to soften the colors, and you can do that as well. So I'm just repeating some on the other side. Nothing too crazy, and probably I need to add some towards the bottom to frame it. Now again, I didn't cut my card yet, so some of this might end up being cut out when I actually go and frame her. And I won't know until, I could have put a pencil around my A2 side so I know, but I didn't, but that's okay. And then of course it's going to be a little bit heavier where her feet are because she's standing in a pile right there. And then my last color